Okay, so my name is Paolo Diviacco, and together with Alessandro Busato from OGS, we tried to extend a little bit the, to extend a little bit the concept of the virtual research environment. And we've been lucky to be funded by the Eurofleets Plus project. So the Eurofleets, there have been already presentation yesterday about the Eurofleet projects, so I won't spend too much time on that, but essentially as a very important project that allows to access to, let's say, vessels, marine infrastructure in general, and at the same time also invests in the development of new software and new method, new ideas. So in this perspective, we had the chance to work on an extension of the concept of the VRE, or the virtual research environment, that with some humor we played. We called the playground. So let's start from some definitions. So from Wikipedia, virtual research environment is a system that helps researchers to collaborate. So I highlight this term because it's quite important, because there is a traditional difference between collaboration and cooperation. And collaboration happens when people have aims together to a shared goal, while cooperation can have individual goals, okay? And what is a shared goal? A shared goal is something that allows you to override the differences among the people, among communities. So we start from the I to the we. But to do this, especially in the scientific research, we need to consider several problems. The scientific method actually is a loop between induction and deduction. So there is a generalization, then we grow up somehow an idea, a theory, then we try to predict a case and observe if it's the case, okay? But the observation is pretty interesting stuff. It's not so easy to handle. There's a giant literature on this that shows that experiment is not a simple observation. Actually, it's a projection also of what someone hopes or thinks. So also the motivations, the social context can be important. So let's start. We move from logic to something more social logic. And also here there are some interesting terms that can be used. A paradigm is, for example, kind of, let's say, something that a community share. So tradition, beliefs, myths, okay? And the interesting thing is that, let's say in modern epistemology, Kuhn, for example, said that different paradigms try to be incommensurable. So they cannot understand each other. They try to separate, just like a speciation. You know, that you have squirrel on one side of a canyon and the other are completely different. So let's say the more contemporary epistemology tried to describe community as tribes. Okay, we need to somehow try to override this example. So we have great example of VRE. We have heard about well, the galaxy and different science before. Great example of VRE, very useful. Nothing, of course, to complain about it. But just wanted to point the fact that probably there is something that can be added to this, okay? Because essentially what we get, for example, using Swarm with virtual research environment or Copernicus, is some storage, way of computing, and maybe, and this is, I think is very interesting, a catalog of curated Python scripts or scripts in general. And for example, I've seen in the Galaxy the possibility to have a visual representation of modules that represent a workflow. This is very, very interesting. But so essentially we have data, we have computing power, we have scripting. So we share the data, we share the workflow, but actually we do not address the problem of, let's say, meaning, to try to understand exactly what's going on. So the assumption, the initial assumption is that researchers know what they're doing, how things have to be done. And for example, this can be used, for example, to address someone new coming into the team. It's not so easy sometimes to transmit the knowledge. There's also something that is called tacit knowledge that cannot be transmitted to someone else, that just remain the practices, okay? So does VRE, the current implementations, very good implementation, of course we don't, we have nothing against this. Well, we think that they do not actually address the collaboration itself. Maybe the possibility to use the data online, to use large computers and whatever. But we humbly think they do not address collaboration itself, because they do not enter into meaning, okay? Paradigm remains separate, and they are not overridden. So the current VRA implementation do not aim at collaboration, but they provide shared space where people can run workflows or processes. There is another, say, traditional also graph that distinguishes data, information, knowledge, and mirrors this into syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Pragmatics, in my opinion, is the way to go, but it's kind of complicated stuff. It's a little bit fuzzy. So I think semantics maybe could be an interesting layer to use in the perspective of pragmatics. So what do we have? We have control vocabularies. We have, I think, the best experts in the world of semantics in this room. We have ontologies. Can we use maybe ontologies to map our knowledge and try to transmit it to the other member of the team? So the idea is to use ontology. Ontologies can describe very complex objects, such as, for example, the pizza. The classical pizza example, lesson 1, part 1, and use it as a map. You know, and this is an interesting quotation I've found from Suchman in '87 that describe a map as a formal construct that can, but not necessarily controls activities. It's just like a traveler's map, you know, does not control the traveler's movement through the world, but rather describe how to do something. And you can choose one or the other. It's a way of actually knowing where you are and how to get somewhere else. And that could be very useful many times, even for yourself. I mean, so we can have very convoluted, complex ontologies, for example, in this case of plastic at sea, or a very simple one. Depends on the detail you want to use. And here we come to the actual, so lots of a long introduction to actually the core of the thing. So what can we add to what is already available as a virtual research environment? Well, we can add this mapping of knowledge and a way of collaborating, say messaging, sharing the data through messages to the other members of the team. But the map of this, of the activities, I think is very important, can be done using ontology because it introduces many other interesting possibilities. So what we have done, we have used say a software we are developing in a while. It's quite some years that we are working on that. Right now, we do not have means to produce ontology inside our software, so we use Protégé, of course. We design an ontology, and we upload it on the web into our software, which is called Colla, because in Italian, colla means glue, so it keeps together the researchers. So you just visualize the ontology as nodes. Each of these nodes become a container of information. For example, here you see that in the visualization, the node generates automatically links to computing facilities, to the essentially some kind of, I will show you later, a Jupyter notebook, to the data, and to the messaging facility. The messaging facility we have incorporated is pretty complex and can handle pretty complex messages trees. And the interesting thing is also you receive, of course, all the emails in your mailer. We have a file manager, but this is still something, let's say, standard as it's in already existent VRE. You can have preview and things, and of course, you can have the computing. We are a little bit snobbish, so we don't use Jupyter, we use Zeppelin, but it's just a matter of, okay? Just in our framework is easier. And within the Eurofleets project, we tried to focus on our background, which is seismic data, exploration seismic, not seismology. So we developed, let's say, an interpreter inside Zeppelin to use Seismic Unix, which is a standard software which is used within the exploration seismic community to process data. So we have this front map that allows us to know where we are. Then we enter the node and we find there all information that are aggregated and makes sense within one of those nodes. We can then access the messaging, the messaging, the computing facility, and so on and so forth. We have, of course, several limitations. We hope this will be just a stimuli for the future work. We need somehow at the beginning of the project a facilitator that organizes the work. This can be something not easy to handle. The ontology now is built outside the virtual playground, so one of our dreams will be to have it inside. Nodes at the moment can be shared across tasks. There's still something that have to be let's say, further advanced. And one of the main problems we found, especially in our case for seismic data, is the interactivity, the visual interactivity, because there are several phases of the processing of data that need actual interactivity that is not allowed by the Jupyter Notebook or the notebook in general. Thank you, I finished. Of course, we have done already some publication. If you want me to explain, of course, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Unfortunately, we will not have the time to take any questions, but I refer you to Paolo in the lunch break. Please have lunch together with him. And
well,
sorry for that.
We have to provide a large table.
And, since it's lunch soon, we have to move on to our next speaker.